by advertisement, they get a lot of money. But on the other hand, invariably amateurs, they have a smaller domain. Of course, they play for their country and for the love of sports. Of course, they also get some social recognition and fame, probably some maybe incentives, maybe the governments or maybe offer. So that's the basic difference between the amateurs in games, amateurs and professionals in sports. Now, coming to our topic, we have invariably people who are most of the youngsters in the after +2 or all those things. They are interested in getting a professional education. We say what are the different types of profession that we can think of. Well, invariably, since we are all in engineering mostly, engineering is a major profession. Medicine is another profession. The legal profession, architecture, pharmacy, and so on. There are so many professions in the use. Now, let us see how the professionals are different from non-professionals. Because I want to make this distinction because the professionals are rigorously trained to practice the profession. Because you go through a training procedure, and at the end of it, maybe after an internship or maybe a few years of experience, you will be in a position to practice their own profession. Probably these are the days in which government jobs are not coming so often. So many engineers also may have to have startup or may have to work on their own. So they can practice their profession in the area of their choice, where in the area in which they have been trained according to some norms prescribed by the society. We cannot have anyway. So these norms are prescribed by or decided by what is called a registration. Many professions, you have a formal of registration, and this is what's called some sort of a code of conduct, and it's between the society and the individual, even though the registration is done in a particular agency. Now, examples of registration, for example, you know that doctors practicing in India, they have to get a registration to Indian Medical Council. And of course, in the UK, we'll have to get the registration of what is called the British Medical Council. And you know that this registration, of course, even people who are trained in Russia and China and other countries, they have to go through a competitive test to get a registration in India. Similarly, lawyers have to get what is called the enrollment that's required. And at the time of registration, they have to enroll as a lawyer. Architects have to get the registration from the Council of Architects. And of course, institutional engineers have a scheme called chartered engineers. They can register as chartered engineers provided certain conditions are met. Unfortunately or fortunately, because there is no single body for registration of engineers. And probably that could be one of the reasons. The other day, I was pointing out one of the reasons why a lot of allegations are coming through in the engineering field. Anyway, so what does the registration mean? I just mentioned. So after requiring the necessary qualifications from an approved institution, and you have to fill up certain forms and pay a registration fee. And in return, you get a registration number and a certificate of registration. More than the formal certificate and the payment of fees and all, it is an agreement between the council, the agency, and the member to act according to a certain code of conduct acceptable to the society. So once you are registered in a particular professional society, you are not supposed to do whatever you feel like for your personal purpose. Because there was a situation sometime back in Tamil Nadu, our enthusiastic surgeon who was a parent, he thought he will take his child to the surgery room and show him what is going on. This made so much of fuss in the news. Ultimately, he lost his registration. Because you are not supposed to take a person who is not qualified or who has got the processor training into a surgical room where only professionals do work. So if you violate the conditions of registration, the registration can be automatically cancelled. So the agency will interfere. Of course, probably these are extreme situations, but it is possible that if you don't behave as per the norms prescribed by the agency or the society, indirectly society, the registration can be cancelled. Now, very often people confuse between the two terms, profession and occupation. Well, there is a difference, and the difference is the profession is an occupation requiring special education because you are being trained in a particular profession. And occupation is a principal activity in your life that you do to earn your living. Because, probably there are engineers, sometimes we have a large number of engineers, unemployed people say. Some of them may be working as even clerical assistants. So that only can be called an occupation. The particular person has been trained to be an engineer, but he is not able to get a job as an engineer, so he is working as a clerk or an administrative assistant. That can only be called as an occupation. But remember that the professionals are dedicated to a particular profession, and naturally they earn their living by experience and their practice of the work. Of course, they are totally different from the non-professional in the sense that because of the intensive training or the rigorous training, they have a way of dealing with things. And because you know that engineering is a matter of problem solving. So how to solve a problem, whether it's an academic problem in the classroom or a real problem that you face with a client or a customer, you have a way of dealing with the problem and then analyze the problem and do it in a very systematic way. And therefore, the training that we acquire as a professional will be definitely much better than that people get the training as a non-professional. Now, what is ethics? Briefly, formal definition is ethics is the branch of science of morals or social behavior or moral code of conduct. In our context, it would mean the manners or the code of conduct as decided by the society or maybe an agency, and brings research to the important characteristics of a good professional. One of the most important characteristics, of course, for any human being it should be, but anyway, particularly for professionals, honesty and integrity. Be honest and you become honorable in your deeds. And honor and acceptance should be what you expect in return. So when you say, when you are being honest or you are acting in an honorable way, what we expect in back is the recognition or the acceptance by the society. And coming to the second term, integrity. See, integrity also is, see, you've got high integrity. See, what exactly mean that? It is an unreduced or completeness or totality of moral soundness. The moral soundness of a person is normally designated as the term integrity. So the first and foremost quality any professional should have, honesty and integrity. Secondly, is the responsibility and accountability. Responsibility and accountability. A professional has to be responsible for his actions. Because we cannot say, after taking up something, oh, so sorry, sir, I could not, something like that. It's not possible because you have to own the responsibility of whatever that's coming, good or bad. You should be glad to take up responsibility, first of all, because probably if you are capable of something like that, if you cannot say that, you can conveniently tell your boss or whatever, sir, I don't know, I'm not able to. But otherwise, you take the responsibility, you are committed to do that. So irrespective of the outcome, you should take the responsibility. And there should be a cost. The responsibility comes along with accountability. So the institution, accountability means you should be committed to the institution where you're working because you have an obligation. It's not a question of a few bucks or a few $1,000 coming to your bank account every first of the month and something you do. But you should be accountable to the institution, and of course, more precisely, you should be accountable to the public at large. And of course, those who have the conscience, you know that basically human beings are good. So they have the conscience, you should be accountable to your own conscience. And the third is respect. Well, how do you respect? Respect others if you want others. So actually, when you respect somebody, naturally the respect will come to you. Because there was a time when even our elderly people used to stand up. For example, I used to have in my house, see my father's elder sister, she used to stand up when I was just passing by. I was going. I used to go near her, asking, Amma, what are you doing? No, son, this is my way. We have been trained in that way. Probably these days, even if my father-in-law comes, my daughter may not bother. But that was the olden times. But in general, giving respect means you get respect back. And respect others not because of their position, because you are chief executive or you are head of the department or a senior officer is coming. Of course, sometimes you may stand up. But that does not mean that you are respecting them. So respect is not simply out of hierarchy. It should be from within. And of course, it also will depend upon the ability and the behavior of the individual who is being respected. So respect your elders, invariably, that's our, what I call the Indian culture. Invariably, we know how to respect our elders. And whether they are lower in our profession, lower in our hierarchy, they may be even ordinary persons on the road, they may not be even literate, but still you should respect the people, even if they are financially backward. And the fourth is, of course, to try to achieve excellence. So you should always have perseverance to achieve and be scholastic in an attitude. I'm not telling that everybody can be overnight and a scholar, but the constant attempts, constant effort to achieve excellence should be part of our life, to reach higher levels of competence in your effort. And those of you know, some of you maybe future working in high-tech areas, you know that you have to go on improving your knowledge. You have to update your knowledge, otherwise you will become obsolete at some time. Perfection, and the ultimate objective is perfection. Of course, you know, you cannot never be 100% perfect, but at least the effort to become perfect should always be there. And try to become a scholar in things that you do by learning more and more. There is no limit for learning. Even the other day, I am 75 now. I am still learning something, but of course, probably it may not be as successful as I was maybe when I was 18 or 20. But learning is a continuous thing, and it can never stop until you die. So we should try to acquire knowledge, which is second to none. So our ultimate objective is we will be able to lead. We will be able to get, we should reach the top in the knowledge hierarchy. And you know, the famous is, see, if you can do something to change the world, why wait for the world to change if you can do something to change the world around you? There is a way. If you can, even in iota, in action, something you can do, definitely you will be respected and you will be doing, you are responsible to the society. Coming to the fifth, lead or follow. There are two ways of doing. You can lead. I have a mentor, one of my mentors, that I put up a board behind his desk. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. Some of my colleagues in NIT may remember who was the person. Anyway, he actually, his way was lead, follow, or get out of the way. So leaders are not born overnight. Many IEEE volunteers, you know, they start as a little hesitant, shy people, but as maybe years go by, or first year, second year, they become real leaders. So they leaders by constant efforts. Of course, it's not easier, much more easier to follow than lead, because you flow along with the stream. It's always comfortable, but whenever possible, you should try to take up the initiative and be leaders. Enjoy being a leader rather than be a follower. And of course, one tip I tell you, what being a leader is work along with your friends. Don't be, I am an office bearer. Okay, you are the boss, others are not. If you are working with them, definitely they will respect you, and ultimately you will be a respected leader than any others. And at least minimum thing that you can do is neither a borrower nor like that, neither a leader. So don't become a nuisance to the society. You have to lead or follow. If you are neither sort of what do you call the redundant sheet, you are doing a big crime to the society and to yourself. And the sixth characteristic is what is called altruism or selflessness. See, the quality of unselfish concern for the welfare of others, acting with less concern for yourself. You are not too much bothered about your own comfort. Of course, people are basically egoistic, but that's not the only thing. So imagine a world where people give themselves simply because they want to. They give, not out of a sense of that. You are not returning something which you received earlier, not because they want something in return. No ulterior motives. So when you're doing something, you don't expect immediately something back. No guilt feelings, and just a desire to give for the sake of giving. And that's the best way. That is what is called altruism. Little more on that. So now, instead of imagining this kind of world, do your part in making it happen. So if you can do something, it will be a small thing. If you can make it happen, and that is good for the society, definitely that will be a very good thing. And volunteer your time to improve your community. Give back to the world. That gives you so much to you. So I remember once I visited a college at Sri Krishnapuram near Sarunu. It is located in a very remote place. I don't know any of the people from Sri Krishnapuram is attending this. I had a friend of mine, an youngster. He was telling, of course, he's a very bright boy. I was asking why you are remaining here. Sir, he said, I was educated in a government school. I started with primary, secondary school. I studied in a government college. I feel that I have to do something for the society. And therefore, this is a government college. I will try my best here. If nothing is possible, if I can't do anything, if I can't do anything, probably I may have to quit. And more than the personal laurels or the personal benefit I am going to get, I want to do something. And that was coming from a youngster, hardly 24 or 12 years. It was a revealing fact for me because such boys are there, such youngsters are there in a community. That is what our society very good. Okay, so feeling good is the only ulterior motive. It's a quote from Bill Daniels. So you do something, well, whether you get something back or not, maybe sometime back you may get it. So that is the what is called the altruism. And 7 is the C's, 3 C's. Caring for others, right? Compassion for others, more or less, same thing. Communicate your compassion. See, very often, communication is the problem. Because these are the days, everybody, when you see, must have seen cartoons where, the grandma and the grandchildren, everybody is sitting together. Almost everybody is on a mobile. They will just scratching on the mobile. They will not be even communicating. See, the grandma or grandchildren, they have come from United States and they are sitting with the grandma here. The grandma alone is the person who is just sitting there. Others are always busy on the what do you call the mobile, or maybe computer, whatever it is. Of course, you have to, if you love somebody, if you have affection for somebody, at least some way of communicating this is very important. Because many of marriages have been divorced because of this problem. Because, a little pat on the shoulders, a smile, after maybe the wife has prepared such a good curry, after tasting it, a smile, oh, this is good. Such a small communication, even a formal thank you between the husband and wife is okay. We don't have to be too formal. Of course, probably the English way is to say thank you, but probably we can say a good smile is good enough. So communication is very important. Of course, unfortunately, I'm not able to communicate with any one of you because we are on a virtual platform. No, but communication is absolutely important. If you have a compassion or a, caring for others, you should somehow, at least in a way, in your own way, it could be a simple smile, it could be a pat on the shoulders, it could be a few words. You should be able to communicate that. That can help a lot. And now, of course, I don't know how many are members of IEEE. And for the information of people who are not members of IEEE, I'll just give a brief 2 slides on what is IEEE. See, IEEE, IEEE, and we call it as IEEE, I already mentioned that, is the largest professional society in the world, with about 4 million members spread over 160 countries in 10 geographic regions. And the origin of IEEE dates back to 1884. Remember, when the first electrical power system was set up by Thomas Alva Edison, other than Thomas Alva Edison in 1987, I think in Manhattan, New York. Of course, we remember it was a DC power system, and Tesla wanted AC. There was a lot of fight between them. Those who are interested in the history, you can read to that. And the founders of IEEE, that is called, the society was called American Institute of Electrical Engineers. Edison was there, Graham Bell, the telephones were already being used at the time. So these two were 2 important persons who are associated with the formation of the IEEE. And subsequently, when the electronics started developing, you had the Institute of Radio Engineers were brought up. And of course, because of the effect of consumer electronics and all, IRE had the upper hand. And some people thought, see, we are doing more or less same job. Why don't we combine together? So in 1963, AIEE, the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, and the Institute of Radio Engineers combined to form IEEE. And that was in 1963. So you can say that IEEE, the date origin dates back to 1884. Maybe if you are too pessimistic, you can say from 1963. As such, you have about, as I said, 400,000 members in 160 countries, more than 8,000 universities. You have student branches, and the activities of IEEE is divided into 46 technical societies, starting with maybe consumer electronics, geoscience, remote sensing, acoustic transmission, control systems, and so on and so forth. And it is spread over 10 geographic regions. So we have a large number of regions. Originally, it started in the United States, and with the headquarters at New Jersey, but it's spread over 10 geographic regions. And India belongs to the region 10, it's called the Asia Pacific. And of course, which includes Singapore, Malaysia, India, Australia, New Zealand, and all areas within the Asia Pacific. And each region has several councils. And it so happened that our India Council belongs to the region 10. And under each council, we have several sections Fortunately for us, the Kerala section happens to be the largest section in region 10, and probably in the first, second, or third in the global domain. And within the sections, we have several subsections, and we are fortunate to have the first subsection in Kerala section started in Malabar area, from Palakkad to Kasaragod. That was Malabar subsection. Subsequently, another subsection has been formed in Kochi. And of course, we have our muscle power, or the strength of our IEEE is the large number of student branches. I think around 40 or more student branches are there all over Kerala. And many of them are attached to the, the respective subsections now. And there are large number of chapters of the different societies, which all, the purpose of this is always to help people around, networking people around, and the ultimate objective of the objective is advancing technology for humanity. See the IEEE logo. The logo says it is the purpose of IEEE is to advancing technology for humanity. Now that is the something briefly about IEEE. Now we'll think, okay, maybe in about 10 minutes I'll also go through some of the code of ethics, because IEEE being the largest professional society in the world, and many of us are members of IEEE. This is the code of ethics. Normally, these are being read at the beginning of each one of our sessions, and probably very often people mechanically go through it. But let us have a look at it in view of the basic characteristics of professional that we discussed. The IEEE code of ethics. There are 10 points. The first is, in accepting a personal obligation to our profession, its members and the communities we serve, we do hereby commit ourselves to the highest ethical and professional conduct. Highlighting that we should have the highest ethical and professional conduct. That's the first point. Second is to accept responsibility in making decisions consistent with the safety, health, and welfare of the public. When you make a decision, the most important things that should come to our mind: the safety of the persons involved, the health of the persons involved, and the welfare of the public. Because we should not actually be a party to anything that can harm the society. And if there is any possibility of a minor hiccups, because not all problems are always having the plus points only, there may be some minus points. If there is any minus point, we have a responsibility to disclose promptly the factors that might endanger the public or the environment. See, for example, there was a lot of discussion on express highway. Express highway when the last government Kerala express highway. Because the pros and cons of the site only the plus points. Whereas as engineers, responsible engineers, whether they are in PWD, whether they are in railway, electricity board, whatever it is, we should be able to highlight the negative points also. Only the facts and figures, not based on our political affiliation. As a citizen of India, we may have our own.
Hello, sir. Hello.
I think sir's connection has gone, I think.
Hello, sir. Sabik, sir, I think he's.
Oh, yeah, he came in.
He's mute.
Hello?
Oh, sir.
Sir, now it's okay, sir.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay, sir. You can continue, sir.
So, to avoid conflicts and disclose facts, only thing that we should not be biased in presenting whatever things. we should not, even our political affiliates should not come in the way as engineers, because you know that IEEE in America, United States, is respected by all governments because they don't have any allegiance either to the Republicans or the Democrats. They don't take sides. The moment you take sides with any one of the political groups, your credibility is lost. And that should be the point where you have to remember. And for, to be honest and realistic, which I already mentioned, in stating claims or estimates, see, you should not exaggerate your claims. If somebody is saying that you have made up a small invention, and if you say that, oh, this is going to be an invention that is next to Einstein, nothing more than relativity theory, almost more than relativity theory. See, you have to tell, because unless you are able to assess and the society evaluates what you have done and then tells you, okay, this is good enough, then only we can say your claims simply because very often some researchers have got a tendency. So, sir, I have got something fantastic. But this fantastic is according to his domain of knowledge. The moment it is published or moment it is compared with some work going on elsewhere, the futility of the work is lost. Because it may be a small extension or something which probably many people must have done. Therefore, when you make a claim, it should be moderate. You should not exaggerate. I remember on student of Roorkee University, he made some method, something. He said it's a very fantastic. And he wrote in the thesis itself, he's supposed to be the first thing in the world. And because of this statement alone, the thesis was rejected. Probably the quality of research is another issue, probably we can have a seminar on that. But anyway, so if the claims are too large, because even when you make a claim, you should always qualify the statement telling that according to what information that I have, these are the days of information explosion. I think this is probably this has been done for the first time. Because probably without your knowledge, somebody must have already done that. So therefore, we should all feel careful in making a claim. We should not simply say that this is up to the heaven and nobody has done like that. So your claim should be rationalized or the realistic. And 5, well, and the major problem, allegation that people usually come in, bribery. There are different types of bribery. It need not necessarily be in cash. I know there are occasions in which, certain people are given mementos. See, normally we know in IEEE we give a book, maybe 300 rupees or 200 rupees worth of book, maybe 500 rupees worth of book. Maybe in Calicut we used to give a small ship, the Uru, Bepu. She may be a small thing, just to remember the place where he has given the talk. On the other hand, if you suppose give something like a big picture worth about 20,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees, it's an indirect way of bribing the person. I have had occasions in which I had to give that for certain persons. And I was working in an I don't want to disclose the name of the person. But there are occasions in which, in the form of a memento, people are being bribed. So these are different forms of bribing people. So it should not be the criterion for doing anything. So we should be able to, we should not be a party to that. We should reject bribery in all its form. And of course, it should also technical competence, we already mentioned, to improve your understanding of technology, update your technology, appropriate application, and the potential consequences. And 7, to seek, accept, and offer honest criticism of technical work. So if somebody criticizes your work, we should be patient to listen to him and see what he exactly is trying to. Of course, if it's a biased criticism, just some people pose themselves to be superior to you, that's a different thing. But if you try to understand what he is criticizing, if there is something in the criticism, we should be able to appreciate that and then acknowledge. And of course, there is a mistake, we should correct this. And of course, if you make an error, correction based on the opinion from a particular person, we should definitely tell others that, of course, this correction was pointed out to so and so, and we have improved upon that. So the credit properly the contributions of others. Even the references that you make, these are the days of plagiarism. Plagiarism, copy, because you can copy paste. Even PDF material people do copy paste. So if you do that, this problem always comes. So plagiarism. So there are software now checking for software plagiarism, and of course there are cases we have found out. And again, no discrimination of any sort. We cannot distinguish or discriminate between race or religion, gender or nationality, age or disability. Of course, these are all problems that we are facing in society. Even the other day, a few months back, there was very severe racism going on in this. And even the Winston Churchill, he was a racist of the highest kind. that situation was there because he simply hated Indians like anything. When the famine struck in Bengal, West Bengal, he said all the food that is to be given to the people has to be sent to the military. They were starving. 2 lakhs people died, mainly because of his decision. Of course, there are people like that in history. Of course, maybe Hitler is another example. But you should try to see that there is no discrimination between race or religion, gender, nationality, and age or disability. And 9, to avoid injuring others. There are type of injury, maybe physical injury, need not necessarily be. It could be his reputation. You make a false allegation. And then his whole reputation is gone. I will cite an example. There was a poor doctor working near Calicut Medical College. He was retired and he was having a small practice in his own village. Hardly he was collecting some 10 rupees as a consultant fee. And he was helping the people around, and always large number of people used to assemble in front of him. One day, a child about 12 or 14 years, a girl child, came to the doctor telling that she has got some cough or chest problem, etc. In the presence of the parents, this elderly person, he tested checked her chest and all those things, and then told her some medicine was given. See, after 3-4 days, there was a case against this person because this child and the parents reported to the child or something. This man was trying to molest the child. An elderly person, maybe not my age, 50 or 60, he was alleged to have molested the child. But on analysis, and there was a lot of news in the channels and all. Of course, the channel people, they don't try to find the facts. They don't even have the person who is taken on the culprit. But finally, what happened is, subsequent to this girl coming to testing to the doctor, there was a discussion in the school. Somebody had come as a counseling session that the person who came for counseling, he or she was explaining what are the ways in which people try to abuse the children. So touching this portion or that portion, something like that. Then the child suddenly got an idea. Oh, that day this doctor attended this thing, that thing. And she reported to the parent, and that was making. And the old man, he was doing a real service to the society over there. His whole reputation was gone. He was such an elaborate man. He had to stop his profession. He could not do anything further. And there is no way he could try to explain to the person because the channels and all, they go after sensation. Ultimately, he was in trouble. So such thought, so avoiding injuring others. So we should not, it may not be physical injury, it could be a reputation or even resulting in the loss of employment for a person like that. And the 10, to assist colleagues and co-workers where possible in their professional development and to support them in following this code of ethics. See, probably what help that you are doing, you may not seriously consider. Because very often, that I remember long time back when I met an oldest friend of mine, we have a TKM 60+ group. One elderly person came to me and he was sitting near me and said, "Sir, the moment, he is my classmate." And later I came, he is my classmate. After 50 years, I could not recognize him. "Sir, you have helped me." I said, "First of all, I was annoyed by his calling me sir." Then I asked him, "What is it?" He said, "See, while we were, I have passed 2 subjects only because of you." See, he used to come to me clearing some doubts and all. I was a reasonably good student. So probably during the study leave and all, I used to go around and help these people around. So he was telling me I helped two papers he passed only because of me. It was, I never bothered because probably that is why I wasn't teaching, but I liked teaching only because of that. But see, you do something and whatever little that you can do, probably you have a combined study and all, you try to help. So you should be able to help others and support them in following, of course, the code of ethics is formulated by the IEEE. And coming just to conclude this is the IEEE slide, which should have come clearly. So advancing technology for humanity. That's the motto for all members of IEEE and probably who would like to be members of IEEE. And to the budding engineers, just on the threshold of being engineers, I have a small word of prayer. The IEEE in IEEE I'm not explaining those IEEE. See, very often nowadays, the specialities have become so much. So one individual cannot do everything. Therefore, we should always try to develop a holistic approach, combine different things. So because of the information explosion, things become obsolete in no time, as just mentioned. Engineering syllabus has to be revised every now and then because probably in 18 we can do that. Probably the so-called affiliated universities not that often, it's not as much possible. And we have experts in different disciplines. And unless these experts sit together and do something, probably the effort will not be worthwhile. And we have large systems, all systems, space applications, computer networks and all. Unless people, different types of people sit together, different experts sit together, may not be possible. So we should be able to develop what is called systems approach. So if I know something, I hold on to that, probably that alone may not be able to solve the problem. And of course, the need for interaction, that is why our IEEE comes in, because networking. You write to anybody, any IEEE member telling that I am a member of IEEE, I would like to get this information. And they will definitely oblige. So exchange of knowledge and experience is required for improvement of system performance. And interaction at design stage. So wherever possible, before the construction, you should be able to interact and see the pros and cons, and at the design stage, and then probably, and unfortunately, no man claims to be an expert in every field. We should always remember, because as you go deeper and deeper into the domain of knowledge, you know that what we know is so little. What we don't know is much more than what we know. So that realization comes only a little late. And now, if you devise something, maybe a startup or whatever it is, the device should be energy efficient. It's absolutely essential because energy is becoming very expensive now. Fuel, petroleum and diesel will not be there maybe after 20 or 30 years. Maybe it should also be environment or eco-friendly, because unless it is, they said the environmentalists create problem. But of course, there are some of them, there is some facts in that. And to make this planet a livable human beings and other living organisms, otherwise, that how long this life will be livable, maybe after some time the planet may become unlivable again. And finally, of course, if you want to sell something, it should be made with the most economy so that it can make a clean profit. These are probably the another interpretation of the IEEE in IEEE. And that's all I think I got. So I think I've taken about 45 minutes. If you have a few questions, we can answer. There is a provision for that. So let Madhumar and others tell me, direct the questions to me.
Participants, if you have any question, you can type in the chat box.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Ah.
Participants, please feel to ask doubts, any questions.
I have not talked anything technical, so naturally there may not be, probably, I'm a semi-retirement stage. I said, I'm in a slightly semi-retirement stage. Technical things, of course, whatever little I know, I can say, but these are basically the so-called, so you can say the values in our life, which we have to follow, and to a certain extent, which I have tried to cherish in my life.
Sir, we have, yeah, Shabirangs. Okay.
So, first, it was Venkat. He wrote, I have always wondered why in India there is no professional body that regulates engineers like we have in Canada, UK, US, and other countries in the developed world.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, as I mentioned, in India, we have no formal registration for engineers. Because, of course, Institute of Engineers, I was part of Institute of Engineers also, they have what's called a chartered engineers, those who can value properties and maybe estimates, etc. But even that is not being strictly followed. So it's unfortunate because many foreign countries, even in Gulf countries, engineers have to register. They have to get some sort of a registration. And I said it's registration, not just paying some money and getting a certificate. It is an agreement between the individual and the agency or the society. So that if he misbehaves, the agency can come in and say that, okay, goodbye, you can't do anything. Unfortunately, because one of the reasons why there are a lot of allegations and other unwanted things in our country, mainly because such thing is not there. The other day I was in a technical forum. I was presenting this. Of course, the people of working in the government establishment, all we are to a certain end, they are involved in these things. They may not like it, but unfortunately, it's a must. There should be some sort of a chartered engineer or a sort of registration for engineers too.
Next,
Okay,
how to teach professional ethics in the college. It is a course in KTU.
yeah, of course, probably they may have a syllabus, and of course, somebody may come and talk about the syllabus. Give that. Basically, it's see, as the other day when I was talking about soft skills. See, these are our part of our life. The ethics, the value education we have in NIT, we had several courses on value education. Just a pass-fail course. People have to attend this value course, and even some people, sannyasis and all, they used to come and give lectures. So moral education you have in your maybe some of the school level, etc. So value education and all this ethics, it's part of. It was taught in the schools and all. Some schools, at least good schools. But unfortunately, there is no formal. And engineering as such is not there. Even professional ethics is a course. And I don't know how people are serious about that. Maybe being a pass-fail course, very often is maybe 100% pass, people don't bother. Even there is a research methodology, there's a course for MTech and all, first MTech and all. I don't know how seriously it's being taken. Basically, these are things that we have to acquire. And we have to have some sort of and of course it starts from early childhood. Because my experience is that the parents are little, unscrupulous. The children also will follow that. Nowadays, even my grandchild will say, Apapa, that day yesterday you told me that you should not do that. Now you are doing that. See, that's the time they have so much of influence, they are watching everything. And you cannot make somebody obey just because you are a parent or a grandparent. So we should show them, suppose we elders, we should show our children the way we have to behave. And that means, of course, probably initially even some of the children will say that, see that day, you told me you should not break the queue. But some people are breaking the queue and they got a better seat than me in the bus. Well, of course, it may be difficult for us to convince them, but we should try to tell them that ultimately you will be the winner. Maybe his short-term gains may not last for long. So the value education and this type of morals and all should start from the beginning. Professional ethics, of course, you can read or maybe you can get some grades and all. But what is required is that has to go into your blood. Then only you become a good human being. After all, professionals are also good human beings. The ultimate objective is to be a sympathetic human being who is not selfish and will be able to help others to the extent possible. I do not say that you cannot leave your family and help others. You cannot be an ascetic. But still within our scope, within our limitations, we can do something good. And wherever possible, we should do that. That's the intention of, that is what is ethics. Okay, courses will be there. I don't know how far these courses that may be some of these courses may be only for getting some grades. And if it is a pass-fail course, you know that how things go on. Madhu and all will be able to tell you how these pass-fail courses work in some of our institutions. It's unfortunate, but to do. Okay.
So next question is, how can we promote professionalism in professional? Is it only the ethical aspects that need to be taken care by professional?
Geeta Ramachandran is there. You are speaking? Okay. See, the characteristics I mentioned, how we should behave, but there should be a monitoring mechanism also. That's what I am telling. Because in the absence of a monitoring mechanism, invariably people do become selfish nowadays. And of course, the money is the guiding factor for many things. So professionalism, there are two ways. One is an individual becoming working like a professional, because that's the ideal situation. But in our society, where is so much of money-mindedness is there, everybody wants to make a little more money, and then do those things, etc., etc. See, without any formal, monetary benefit, if somebody is doing something, we should appreciate that. So probably the societal recognition for people who are not corrupt, like maybe people like Abdul Kalam, maybe Sridharan. See, they are real models we have. We have so many good models around. We should try to follow them. And of course, we should, as elder person, we should try to tell our students, tell our youngsters, see, they are the models to be followed. It's not somebody who has made a few crores and then maybe living for a few years comfortably. So these are the things that we can do. And of course, in engineering especially, I feel that there should be some sort of a corrective mechanism, say, an agency or something that will make sure that people behave in the proper way. Because that's why a lot of this thing is going on. Probably because they will say, the minister said like this, I have done. See, even probably Geeta, you are in Kochi, you know that, Palariptan Beach. A lot of people are telling us this way, that way, that way. And even a court will not be able to find out, pinpoint who is the person in there. That's unfortunate. And that is how our society is. So we should consciously try to inculcate these good traits in our children. And then, of course, we should have a monitoring mechanism by which the faulty or the erroneous people are being brought to the correct side. Okay.
Sir, next, how far can the professional bodies control the ethical part in professionals with proper monitoring?
So that's what I'm telling you. So we have, except in engineering, we have a monitoring agency. See, if somebody goes too much out of the way, they can be found fault with. See, maybe small aberration this way, that way, probably it can't be tolerated. People may, society may accept that. But if somebody is doing, see, just the example of the surgeon I said, see, simply because of his affection, he has taken his 14-year-old child into the surgical room and started demonstrating. And that's criminal. That can't be done. And by chance, if he takes a scalpel and does something, the patient may be lost. So that's why the severity of the aberration, severity of the misbehavior has to be counted. And nowadays, there are medical councils and all, they can find out whether it's been done. So there is even judges are involved in that. Of course, ideally, everything is fine, but there are situations in which people go astray, and the number of persons who go astray is becoming every day more and more, and that's why there should be monetary mechanism. And of course, the government or maybe even the agencies involved, they should try to work out on that. And I don't think that formal ethics cannot be taught. As I said, soft skills cannot be taught. Ethics cannot be taught. It should become a part of life. And in spite of all our efforts, something is going out of the way, then of course the punitive measures are to be taken. Okay.
Geeta ma'am, I couldn't understand your question, so I am unmuting you. You can ask directly.
Actually, I did not ask any question. I was asking whether this presentation can be shared by Sir. That's all. No question at all.
Okay.
Oh, Geeta.
Very lucid and very clear and very nice presentation. Thank you very much, sir.
Geeta Ramjan is my old student.
Yeah, sir.
No.
I know.
Actually, I have taught Geeta and her sister and brother in REC Calicut. Sudha, her sister is my PhD student. He did a PhD with me and Ashok.
Sudha and
her brother also was a student of REC. Okay, thank you, Geeta, for coming and attending this. Maybe it was overflow for you. Thank you.
It was very nice.
I have already given the slides in PDF form. The slides are given to Sabik I sent. If somebody is interested, he can make a request to the organizer. They will mail the slides. Okay?
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, sir has passed the slides. If anybody is wanted, I will be sharing the slides in PDF format.
I have the slides in PDF form. 4 slides in one PDF. So if you want to make it it's a colored one. We cannot take a printout as such. If it is made to be black and white, I can do that and send it maybe after.
PDF format is okay, sir. Thank you so much. PDF is okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's almost 1 hour, so let us conclude. Thank you for the patient listening. I am sorry that I am not able to see your faces. Unfortunately, because as a teacher, I would like to see my students and then talk. But these are the situations, so we can't help it. Anyway, fortunately, I am able to participate even in spite of my semi-retirement, being sitting in my own room, my own house. So it's okay. In one way, I am doing something little. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So next question is, what if the professional bodies itself is not strictly following the ethical part?
Once again, please.
What if the professional bodies itself is not strictly following ethical? If the
Professional bodies as such, there are clear-cut norms, and these are the things that there are do's and don'ts. Nothing is not depending upon the professional body or the president or the secretary of the professional body. See, please don't confuse the, for example, people at yesterday when I put this point in my one group, WhatsApp group, they were telling IMA. See, IMA is not Indian Medical Council. IMA is not Medical Council of India. See, IMA is an association of the doctors. They can have their own view, but that does not mean that will affect the decisions of the Medical Council of India. So the so-called Medical Council of India, they are statutory bodies, and there are clear-cut rules written down. And if they violate the rules, the statutory, they can revoke the registration. They can revoke the registration. There are, and of course, it's not an individual decision. There will be a committee. A committee will be going to that. What is the culprit? Who has done it? And what are things he has done? And what are the norms to be followed? Which are the violations? And they take action. It's not depending upon X or Y. It's not, your problem is about an association doing it. There's a lot of difference between a statutory body and association. A statutory body like Medical Council of India or British Medical Council or maybe Council of Architects, etc. They are supposed to be taking care of the societal norms. So they have to, and it is all written down. It's all written down. The norms are written down, and it's very clear for any neutral person. He can easily find out whether there is a violation. So I don't think any professional body as such will be violating that, because association can do. Association is a representative election is going on. Some people become president and secretary. So like IMA. The IMA is an opinion by the group of doctors. It's not mandatory. It need not be correct also. Depends upon the individual who are at the top. Whereas the Medical Council of India, decisions are final. Okay. Does not depend upon the individual as such. Should not also. Maybe slight operation, of course. All these are human efforts. Mild things may be there, but that cannot continue. Sometime or other, people will be alert. Okay. Thank you.
I think we have that much questions. Participants, the feedback form is circulated. It's in the chat box. You can fill it. So I have an announcement about the next webinar. It will be on next Thursday as usual. The time is 5:30, and the talk will be on positive attitude in adverse situations by Ms. Amita Kamath, Marine Chief Engineer, External Surveyor, Director General of Shipping. So if you are interested, you can register for that event. Sabik sir?
Yeah, we can find. Yeah, we can conclude.
Okay. So it was an enlightening talk, Mohandas sir, for the youngsters also. So you start with the difference between profession and occupation, and then gone through different characteristics of professionals, and we also discussed ethics and different professional bodies and all. So it was very interesting to hear to you. So on behalf of IEEE MSS and IEEE Malabar Hub, I take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for the talk on professionals and ethics.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
And participants, without you, this webinar will not be a success. So I thank all of you for the patient listening and asking good questions and all. Thank you all.